You are listening to IBG News Golden, our podcast. News read by Mirai. The 8th Apijay Bangla Sahitya Utsav inaugurated by Pabitra Sarkar. Point: the 3D literary festival reverted to its on-site format at the century-old iconic Oxford bookstore at Park Street and is also being streamed online for global fans. Point: as a mark of the centenary celebration of the Oxford bookstore, the launch of Bengali Little Magazine Corner at the iconic Oxford bookstore on Park Street was announced at the inaugural session. Kolkata, 25th November 2022, the 8th edition of India's first Bengali literary festival, Apijay Bangla Sahitya Utsav, APSU, curated by the Oxford bookstores, was inaugurated today by linguist, literary critic, academician, and actor Pabitra Sarkar. The launch of Bengali Little Magazine Corner at the iconic Oxford bookstore on Park Street was announced during the inauguration of the 8th edition of APSU to commemorate the Oxford bookstore's centennial celebration. There are approximately 2,000 little magazines published in Bengali throughout India. Oxford Bookstore's online store is also considering selling these Bengali little magazines online in order to reach a wider audience. It will be a free platform with a modest revenue-sharing model. Currently, the Bengali Little Magazine segment lacks a platform to display its extensive body of written work. The goal of APSU is to introduce Bengali literature to a global audience. And, despite producing excellent literary work, Bengali Little Magazines have struggled to reach a wider audience. This is part of our effort as a 100-year bookstore to promote Bengali literature all over the world, said Swagat Sengupta, APSU Director and CEO of Oxford Bookstores. Welcoming the move by the Oxford Bookstore, Pabitra Sarkar, while inaugurating the 8th edition of APSU, said, "The Oxford Bookstore has launched a fantastic initiative. Once upon a time, there were some stalls on the streets of Kolkata selling Bengali little magazines. They are becoming extinct. There can be no better news for the Bengali little magazine segment than the Oxford bookstore dedicating a space to them. Little magazines have a dedicated readership. The literature they publish is distinctive and not typically found in popular culture. This initiative will do this little magazine community, its authors, and its readers a world of good." Due to COVID, the 6th edition of APSU was held virtually, while the 7th edition of APSU was conducted in a hybrid format. The final day of the event was a physical event, as opposed to the prior 2 days when it was conducted online. APSU has made a comeback this year in its typical offline guise. The century-old iconic Oxford bookstore on Park Street is once again serving as the venue for APSU, as it did in the years prior to COVID. Speaking about the 8th edition of the Sahitya Utsav, Swagat Sengupta, APSU Director and CEO of Oxford Bookstores, said, "India's first Bangla literary festival, Apijay Bangla Sahitya Utsav, curated by the centenary-old Oxford Bookstores in 2015, is in its 8th year. Celebrating 100 years of Oxford Bookstore, we have suitably chosen the iconic Oxford Bookstore, Park Street, Kolkata, to celebrate books, music, art, film, and more with the finest creative minds of Bengal." After the unprecedented 2 years of COVID-19, this year the festival will be held completely on ground in its best physical format. The 8th edition of APSU will continue to support, promote and strengthen Bangla language through 27 specially curated sessions that delve deep into topics such as poetry, little magazines, illustrations, use of dialects, politics, youth literature, thriller, book publishing and editing, journalism and cinema in Bangla literature. APSU has grown over the last 7 years and is now celebrated and eagerly awaited among fans of Bengali literature and culture both in India and abroad. Keeping its global popularity in mind, APSU 2022 is being streamed live on the official Apijay Bangla Sahitya Utsav Facebook page and YouTube channel on all 3 days, 25th November 1926 and 27. This will ensure that Bengali literary enthusiasts from all over the world can immerse themselves in this literary and cultural extravaganza transcending time and geography. We are also keeping in mind the ease of access, active participation, flexibility of viewing the sessions at convenience, and interacting with the delegates at the same time through social media live streaming. Swagat Singh Gupta, APSU Director and CEO of Oxford Bookstores, added. The 8th edition of APSU is hosting eminent personalities like Pabitra Sarkar, Himadrai Kishore Das Gupta, Ashok Viswanathan, Anik Datta, Samik Bandyopadhyay, Abul Bashar, Rupam Islam, Sujok Bandyopadhyay, Binod Ghosal, Khayali Dastidar, Rahul Banerjee Arunoday, Biswanath Basu, Jayanta Ghosal, Snehsis Sur, Tilottama Majumdar, Debasish Dev, Bandakranta Sen, Ullas Malik, Krishnendu Mukhopadhyay, Raja Bhattacharya, Deepanvita Ray, to name a few. This eclectic curation has been done under the stewardship of former radio jockey Roy Chaudhary and as advised by Himadrai Kishore Das Gupta. To contribute to the success of the 8th edition of APSU, the festival will be supported by Zee 24 Ghanta as television partner and Anandobazar Patrika Online as online media partner and Cha Bar as refreshment partner. The supporting partners are Shabdabazi and a Kobita Club. Excellent Books would support the 8th edition of APSU as session partner. You are listening to IBG News Golden Hour podcast. Jaideep Mukherjee's documentary Other Ray, The Art of Satyajit Ray, screened at IFFI 53. Entries of Ray poster making contest on display at IFFI 53. Special section on Satyajit Ray at IFFI 53. By PIB Mumbai Hush IFFI Wood, 25th November 2022. I tried to present my own concept of aesthetic creativity of Satyajit Ray, Jaideep Mukherjee. Other Ray, The Art of Satyajit Ray traces the roots of creative genius of Ray, Jaideep Mukherjee. As part of the special section on Satyajit Ray at IFFI 53, Jaideep Mukherjee's 34-minute non-feature film Other Ray, The Art of Satyajit Ray was showcased in the Indian Panorama section on 24th November 2022. Interacting with media persons and delegates at IFFI Table Talks organized by PIB, director Jaideep Mukherjee said this movie is a biographical documentary incorporating his own conception of Ray's genius. The various shades of Ray's aesthetic genius, sketcher, calligrapher, music composer, director, have been covered holistically in the film, Mr. Mukherjee said. He added that the creativity ran in Ray's genes from his grandfather Upendra Kishore Ray Chaudhary and father Sukumar Sen, but his training under legends like Nandalal Bose and others at Shantiniketan clearly reflects in Ray's works. Mr. Mukherjee added that the film also captures other influences on Ray's development of characters, like his years spent as junior visualizer at the advertising firm D.J. Kmart or learning Western musical notations from Professor Alex Aronson, which was part of his composing and orchestration process for many soundtracks in his films. Mr. Mukherjee recalled how he discussed the idea of Other Ray with Satyajit Ray himself, but had to struggle over many decades to give shape to it. I had to take pictures of Ray's paintings and other works at an exhibition in Kolkata in 2007, apart from inputs of Sir Richard Attenborough and Ray's other friends in London, Mr. Mukherjee said. The director also spoke of his intent to make similar documentaries on Ritwik Ghatak and Rinal Sen on the occasion of their centenaries upcoming in the next 2 to 3 years. The venue also features a section The One and Only Ray, a film poster design contest with posters of Ray's films redesigned by film enthusiasts across the country. Two Satyajit Ray classics are also being screened at IFFI 2022, the 1977 period drama Shatranj Ke Khiladi and the 1989 social, Ganshatru. You are listening to IBG News Golden Hour podcast. Finance Minister Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman chairs pre-budget consultations with finance ministers of states. News by PIB, Delhi. The Union Finance Minister held the pre-budget consultations with the finance ministers of states and union territories with legislature here today. The meeting was attended by Union Ministers of State, Finance, Chief Minister, Deputy Chief Minister, late Governor of Jammu and Kashmir, Finance Ministers, and senior officers from the states, union territories, and the Union Government. The Secretary, Department of Economic Affairs, Ministry of Finance, welcomed all the participants to the meeting and informed the importance of this particular consultation for the ensuing budget. Most of the participants thanked the Union Finance Minister for financially supporting their states' union territories by enhancing borrowing limits and providing to advanced devolution installments through special assistance for capital expenditure. The participants also gave numerous suggestions to the Union Finance Minister for inclusion in the budget speech. Union Finance Minister thanked the participants for their inputs and suggestions towards Budget 2023 to 1924 and assured them to examine each of the proposals. You are listening to IBG News Golden, our podcast, and news read by Mirai. Team India dominates Bangladesh 80-0 to qualify for the Asia Rugby Division 3 playoffs. Kolkata, 25th November 2022. Indian national men's rugby team beat Bangladesh in the final match of the Asia Rugby Division 3 South Region tournament played at the Rabindra Sarovar Stadium, Kolkata with a score of 80-0 today. The government of West Bengal would be delighted to host the next Asia Rugby Playoffs tournament, which will be held soon, and is happy to have hosted this tournament and welcome Nepal and Bangladesh to our wonderful state. We also hope that this tournament has inspired youth athletes all around the state to take up the sport, said Mr. Arup Biswas, Hobiali Minister in charge, Department of Youth Services and Sports, Government of West Bengal. It is in the ethos of rugby that if you want to move forward, you have to move forward as a team. There are many members of the team that we have to thank for the great success of the Asian Rugby Championships Division 3 South. The West Bengal government for all the cooperation and affection, the staff of the Rabindra Sarovar complex for a marvelous tournament and excellent facilities, the CCFC club for all their help in conducting the tournament, the Bengal Olympic Association for their support and belief in rugby in Bengal, and finally to Bangladesh and Nepal Rugby for coming across and putting up such a spirited show. We extend our warmest hand in friendship and would be happy to offer any assistance to further the sport in this region. Finally, we would like to thank Asia Rugby for giving us this opportunity by awarding this tournament to India. We hope that we can have many more opportunities as such to host such tournaments in other parts of the country under the Asia Rugby umbrella, said Mr. Rahul Bose, President, Rugby India, at the closing ceremony of the tournament. Led by Prince Khatri, the Indian men's team continued their domination against Bangladesh in the final game of the Division 3 South Region tournament. Having started strong against Nepal, they continued their performance against Bangladesh as they won their spot at the Asian Rugby Championship Division 3 playoffs, through which one team will get promoted to Division 2. The playoffs will feature teams such as Kazakhstan and Iran depending on their respective regional qualifications. Firstly, I am grateful for the team. There were plenty of new faces, debutants, and a lot of young boys in the squad. This was a milestone that is like a starting point for us to play here at home after 3 long years. This will just give us momentum to move forward. We are very fortunate to have this group of young lads along with us in the coming competitions. It was another feeling altogether playing at home, said Prince Khatri, captain, Indian rugby team. The trophy was presented to the Indian team by Mr. Kes Abdullah Al-Dhalai, President, Asia Rugby, in the presence of Mr. Rahul Bose, President, Rugby India, Honorable Sports Minister for West Bengal, Mr. Arup Biswas, along with Mr. Gerald Prabhu, Honorary Secretary, IRFU. Qualifying for the playoffs is the first step in the roadmap of Rugby India for promotion to higher divisions to enable India to compete with the best teams in Asia. The Indian Rugby Football Union (IRFU) is the sole governing body for the sport of rugby in India. The IRFU, responsible for the growth and development of the sport of rugby across the country, is recognized by the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Government of India, and is a full member of the Indian Olympic Association (IOA), Asian Rugby Football Union (ARFU), and World Rugby.
You are listening to IBG News Golden Hour podcast and news read by Billy Joey. European Commission endorses positive preliminary assessment of Greece's request for nearly €3.6 billion under the Recovery and Resilience Facility. The European Commission has today endorsed a positive preliminary assessment of Greece's payment request for €3.6 billion, of which €1.7 billion in grants and €1.9 billion in loans, under the Recovery and Resilience Facility, RRF, the key instrument at the heart of Next Generation EU. On September 30, 2022, Greece submitted to the Commission a payment request based on the achievement of the 28 milestones and targets laid out in the Council implementing decision for the second installment. They cover reforms and investments promoting the use of renewable energy so as to make the electricity market fit for a high share of renewables. They also include reorganizing the railway sector to develop, operate and maintain a modern railway network, opening up the public bus transportation market to improve services and to promote a greener bus fleet. Other reforms and investments support the digital transformation of small and medium-sized enterprises, as well as interconnecting payment terminals with the tax administration, incentivizing green and digital investments by the private sector, encouraging small companies to grow and export, enhancing the supervision of capital markets, creating new funding opportunities for research and encouraging new investments in the tourism, manufacturing and agriculture sectors. With their request, the Greek authorities provided detailed and comprehensive evidence demonstrating the fulfillment of the 28 milestones and targets. As required by the RRF regulation, Greece has also confirmed that measures related to previously satisfactorily fulfilled milestones and targets have not been reversed. The Commission has thoroughly assessed this information before presenting its positive preliminary assessment of the payment request. The Greek Recovery and Resilience Plan will be supported by €17.4 billion in grants and €12.7 billion in loans, of which €4 billion was disbursed to Greece in pre-financing on August 9, 2021. A first payment request from Greece was assessed positively by the Commission on February 28, 2022, which led to the disbursement of €3.6 billion on April 8, 2022. Payments under the RRF are performance-based and contingent on member states implementing the investments and reforms outlined in their respective recovery and resilience plans. Next steps. The Commission has now sent its positive preliminary assessment of Greece's fulfillment of the milestones and targets required for this payment to the Economic and Financial Committee, EFC, asking for its opinion. The EFC's opinion, to be delivered within a maximum of 4 weeks, should be taken into account in the Commission's assessment. Following the EFC's opinion, the Commission will adopt the final decision on the disbursement of the financial contribution, in accordance with the examination procedure, through a comitology committee. Following the adoption of the decision by the Commission, the disbursement to Greece can take place. The Commission will assess further payment requests by Greece based on the fulfillment of the milestones and targets outlined in the Council implementing decision, reflecting progress on the implementation of the investments and reforms. The amounts disbursed to the member states are published in the Recovery and Resilience Scoreboard, which shows the progress of the implementation of the National Recovery and Resilience Plans. Members of the College said. President of the European Commission Ursula von der Leyen said, "Excellent news for Greece today. The country has made sufficient progress in the implementation of its national recovery plan to receive a second payment under Next Generation EU. Once member states will have given their green light, Greece will receive €3.6 billion. Greece is driving forward ambitious reforms in key areas such as renewable energy, railway infrastructure, public transportation and the digitalization of SMEs. Greece is also encouraging new investments in tourism, manufacturing and agriculture. Importantly, it has also delivered on its commitments on audit and control to protect taxpayers' money. So, congratulations to Greece. The way to recovery continues and the Commission stands by your side. You are listening to IBG News Golden Hour podcast and news read by Billy Joey. The United States of America informed media that the first session of the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee on Plastic Pollution has been completed. Office of the Spokesperson. Assistant Secretary of State for Oceans and International Environmental and Scientific Affairs Monica Medina will travel to Punta del Este, Uruguay to lead the U.S. delegation to the first session of the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee, incorporated 1 November 26 to 28. Assistant Secretary Medina will join U.S. interagency partners, including the Environmental Protection Agency, the U.S. Agency for International Development, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and representatives from over 150 countries to develop a global agreement on plastic pollution. The Incorporated One is the negotiating body established by the United Nations Environment Assembly to develop the text of a global agreement on plastic pollution. The United States is actively engaged in negotiations seeking a global agreement that is ambitious, innovative, and covers the full life cycle of plastics.
You are listening to IBG News Golden, our podcast.
Thank you, listeners, for being with us. You have just finished listening the IBG News Golden Hour podcast. Watch out for the next edition tomorrow. Thank you.